Hey, happy Thursday! I'm Clover Thursday, and welcome back to my channel. Sorry I sound a lot like hot garbage, but I'm sick again. Lord knows I'm not made for winter. But today I'm doing something a little different, and I'm using Illustrator. Illustrator is a counterintuitive beast, and honestly, you just have to reset your brain from the comfort zone of Photoshop and accept the different set of rules. It helps to, knuckle through Illustrator by having it to finish a project on it. Like what I've been working on today. I've been working on files for new enamel pins. Series 2 will be out sometime in the spring, when the snow is finally melting. But anyways, back to using programs you're not fond of. Giving yourself a little project to complete it in really helps. Maybe it's enamel pin design in Illustrator, or putting your own zines together and comics together in InDesign, or making I don't know, like a dumb AMV for like your OTP in like Premiere or something like that. But yeah, it just gives you a place to start and somewhere to work towards. But anyways, like almost always, I'm starting out with a sketch. That's just the bottom layer in my Illustrator layers. I make sure each artboard, because there's a couple designs on here, but each artboard has its own layer folder because Illustrator gets so messy so fast. So I'm just attempting to keep everything neat. As you can see, I'm drawing Prince Sidon from Breath of the Wild, best boy, or best man. Giggity. But I inked his fishy perfection using the brush tool in Illustrator. Don't talk to me about the pen tool. I'm gonna level with y'all. I drew and adjusted the lines for this a bunch of times. Like, this is not a clean chronological speed paint. I'm gonna show you how many times I went back to this. My main reason is just that he was too simple at first, but I'll talk more about that a little later. So now I'm just throwing on some color. I say throw it on because I actually use a Pantone color book later, which is built right into the Illustrator, mind you. And it helps you pick colors for, manufacturing, print work. But right now I'm just trying to think of the most efficient way of filling in all the colors right now. I'm not really worrying about the Pantone ones just yet. My method for my pins last time was just using color shapes under all the sort of line art strokes, which works fine, but I wanted to be more efficient, and I'm always just trying to find out more efficient ways of doing things. So I tried using Pathfinder and merging strokes, and it didn't work. I just got a bit annoyed at live paint as well, and just settled on going my slightly more tedious way. Working with Illustrator really unlocks my inner tedium loving graphic designer persona. I used the eraser tool when the Impatient Me came back out. I wouldn't recommend that, honestly. Later on, I ended up smoothing out excess anchor points and jaggies that uh, erasing with the eraser tool made when I went back and pretty much redrew a chunk of those shape layers. So yeah, maybe not recommend it unless you're a lot more accurate and smoother in erasing things. But Illustrator's a little weird like that. Um, there is pen pressure, but it's always such a pain in the butt to get it activated. And here, funny enough, I'm doing these flatting colors, but what I ended up going back and doing was, especially with these smaller, actually closed shapes, I just actually filled filled the shape with the fill and stroke thing on the top. Didn't even need to do this weird flatting color thing, but I'm just so used to Photoshop, and I thought, oh, it'll be easier, but yeah, you'll see. As much as I'm really bad talking, I had to stop myself from swearing, but as much as I talk bad about Illustrator, is a super effective, handy program, and I recommend giving it a try at least. Like obviously I know a lot of people, I mean it's easier to hack Photoshop. Let's be real here. But like, at least here and where I live, like most of the local libraries have like the entire like Adobe suite sort of kicking around, or they also have trials just to see the different kinds of programs out there. Because Illustrator obviously has a use, as I'm clearly using it for kind of this kind of work. So it's good just to be able to know your way around it, even if you're not like super proficient at it, just to be able to handle it. And if you're kind of doing, illustration and design and art as a career, it's funny. I always find that it either you do something super duper specific or you do like everything. So, take your pick. And here I am actually going in and redrawing Sidon's headpiece because I did not like it, and it is one of the things I zeroed in on it once I left this piece and came back to it, and I was like, nah, I'm not having like 100 of these made and having to look at that. So yeah, I fixed it, and here I am just going in and being like, no, I've got so many things I need to work on, and I'm just not feeling this right now. And there was just a lot of details I'm left out. So yeah, I was doing that. But actually, if you notice in my color swatches on the side, I've got colors with like dots and white corners. I had to switch my colors to Pantone, which is a godsend. I've gotten like no surprises with my colors while using Pantone, especially for production. Again, the color books are in Illustrator. Um, if you right click there, I'll put a little circle on the screen, and then I believe if you go to swatch libraries and then color books, it gives you a bunch of, I guess, editions of Pantone that you can use. And I use the Pantone Solid Coated book. Um, why I picked that one in particular because one, these colors were going to be in one continuous like flat application. So it made sense to me to use like just solid. And two, which is a very important part, is coated and uncoated. So my surface is coated because the enamel color will be sitting on metal, which is a polished metal, which is a non-absorbent surface. So essentially, uncoated equals something more absorbent, like a certain kind of paper, like maybe like watercolor paper, or just a paper that doesn't have a coating on it. And coated means something that's a lot less absorbent, essentially. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be papers. Google's your friend. But here I am, still plugging away and redoing things. Funny enough, my other pin design, I banged out so quickly, no problem. But I struggled with my best boy Sidon. I was like, no. So I kept going back to it and trying to add details and redraw things because, especially when you're investing in something, people are interested in buying it maybe, you want to give them the best that you can kind of give them. And, at least to have some things about the work you're doing that you're pleased with. I mean, I feel like as artists or creators of any sort, or anyone who's just working towards something, you never feel like, you've got it all down in one go. But at least if you can look at what you've done and you have at least a couple things you like about it, or there's something about it that you're proud of, then that's awesome. And even if that thing you're proud of is just knowing that you frigged this up and you've learned from it, that's still something to be proud of. But enough with my fortune cookie mumbo jumbo. But But, once I liked the drawing again, I then went in with, like, my inner graphic designer again. She came out and just tried to make everything pixel perfect, smoothing out, like, connecting lines to make sure there was no bumps, especially with the outer edge, because this is an enamel pin, so the overall shape and silhouette had some significance. So I wanted to make sure that was a-okay. And yeah, I spent a little while zoomed in, looking at, yeah, abstract anchor points and paths. Jeez. Yeah, I was just having a time. And here's the final. Documents all set up with enough info for them to do their magic. I wrote some notes on just what the size is, and I'm actually like having my enamel pins instead of having a black coating for the liner. I actually like to do them in gold because was probably a magpie in another life. And sometimes you might have saw glimpses of it in the video. I do a quick mock-up of the line art in gold sometimes just to see how it looks, because things look a little different when they're in gold, when they're in black. But I have done this before, so I kind of knew the nature of the actual gold enamel pin, and it's can be a little difficult to mock up, but it's still good to at least see it in a not black color. That's all there is to it. And I'm super duper excited to have these bad boys out. Congrats on getting to the end of the video. Your prize is a sexy fish man. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to give it a like. This pin and others will be available on my Etsy. Be sure to follow the shop to receive updates. I also have an Instagram for the store, so be sure to follow that for release dates and hoopla and all that stuff. And feel free to check out what's already there. If you want to see more of my videos, subscribe. There's a new video every Thursday. If you can't wait until, next week, you can also feel free to follow my other assorted social medias down below. But that's it for this video. So I'll talk to y'all later. See you next week. See you next week. Take care. Bye.